Welcome to Convos from the Couch by Lifestance Health, where leading mental health professionals help guide you on your journey to a healthier, more fulfilling life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Convos from the Couch by Lifestance Health. I'm Nikki Lianza, and on this episode, I'll be talking with Margaret Verstraete, a clinician from our St. Peters, Missouri office, and she'll be sharing her insights on eating disorders and the holiday season. So welcome, Meg. Great to have you on.
Thanks, Nikki. It's great to be here.
You know, I know this can be a very difficult time of year, the holiday season coming up for those struggling with eating disorders. And I recently came across a statistic from U.S. News and World Report, which states that 30 million people have struggled with eating disorders at some point in their lives. So eating disorders affect way more people than I think we even realize. So it's great that we're having this conversation around this time.
I agree, Nikki. And, it's all ages too. And it's all genders included as well.
Right.
It's not specific to any one age group or gender. So,
and I'm glad you're emphasizing that. That's such a key point there for sure.
Yeah. It's, and I'm hoping today we can help just, a few people either reach out for help or say, hey, I'm struggling to somebody, maybe what's the next step? So hopefully that's what today will bring.
This is definitely what today's going to bring for sure. So let's jump in. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So Nikki, I'm a licensed professional counselor for 19 plus years. I hate to say how long. But my experience has included residential settings, hospitals, education support, crisis intervention teams, and then here at Lifestance at a clinical setting. Loving all of it along the way, even though I didn't realize it at certain times. It was a little more active than, running after certain kiddos that were maybe elopers in the school buildings, spectrum kiddos, maybe. But all an adventure and brings me to this place full circle for sure.
Definitely. You definitely carry with you lots of good experience surrounding this topic. And so as we jump into our conversation, let's first start with having you tell us a little bit more about the different types of eating disorders and their symptoms.
Sure, Nikki. So classically speaking, if we were to look at the Karen Carpenter's story way back in the 70s, I think that was pretty much the biggest awareness socially of anorexia nervosa.
And let me say, Karen Carpenter was a really prominent singer in the 70s who had died. And that was probably the first time I ever heard, I am a child of the 70s. So I do remember Karen Carpenter, even though I was young. But that was probably the first time even, that I had heard about anorexia nervosa. So thank you for bringing her up.
Same. And so sad, being a high performer and things like that, just such a beauty. Yeah, I had all her records, of course, and dating myself as well.
Beautiful voice she had for sure.
Yes. So that classically looks more like restricting, over-exercising, in the negative thoughts of self, that sort of thing. Then there might be the bulimic type, a binge purge characteristics, which classically it might look more like college students, high school students, athletes. There are a lot of athletes and performers who struggle as well. And that's been pretty much brought to light in the last probably couple decades, where athletes are saying, I had to make weight or I had to be a certain speed. So therefore I was binging and purging, and then they had to, up their weight, maybe for football players or for track people, even
wrestlers.
Volleyball.
Yeah, wrestlers are a big one too. Yeah,
for sure, yeah. Wrestling. And then there's, there's a variety. There's the, chewing and spitting, and you get involved with more of the behavioral part of the chewing, but spitting it out, and people are not realizing, hey, maybe I do struggle with this, because instead of allowing myself to go ahead and fully taste and be present when I'm eating, I'm not. Therefore, I'm going to punish myself by having to get rid of it in any way I can.
Got you.
So those are just a snapshot of some. Of course, there's more according to the DSM-5,
But yeah, no, I think you did a great overview of the ones that are more prominent that we often hear a lot about. So, what are some of the core issues behind eating disorders?
So just kind of backstepping a little bit, the DSM-5, it describes eating disorder. It's a behavior with conditions characterized by severe, persistent disturbance in eating behavior, and it's associated with distressing emotions and thoughts. This type of a disorder can affect physical, psychological, and social function. So with that said, Nikki, it's pretty much all encompassing. So core issues might include social anxiety. It might include performance-based, like we had just spoken about. It could just be the inner critic, thoughts of self, or body dysmorphia, which is where people are looking at themselves in a mirror. Maybe they don't like particularly the way something is fitting them, or maybe it's just their thoughts are provoking these negative self-talk things to themselves. It could also be related to trauma, need for control. It's a variety, Nikki, and each one is just its own journey for sure.
Right. And so as we tether these symptoms and core issues into the holiday season, which we know could be very triggering as well. We know that holiday season just can exacerbate these issues. Even looking at holiday movies, Hallmark movies, holidays, can you share with us some ways that even holiday movies can be very triggering?
Of course. So one thing that really stands out to me, Nikki, it's like probably my most favorite holiday movie of all. I also love him as an actor as well, but I mean the movie Elf. And I think as calm and as playful as that movie is, to people who struggle with eating disorders, there's a scene in the movie where Elf is engaging in his fun bowl of spaghetti and M&Ms and chocolate syrup and maple syrup and all putting it all in a big bowl, and then he's basically binging the food bowl, but he's enjoying it. So to somebody who struggles with an eating disorder, that can be very triggering. So a scene like that can just be, so triggering that it lasts and it lingers maybe hours, days, weeks,
And I have to say, Meg, I would never have thought of that. I do recollect that scene, and I think many people see that scene as very funny. But for someone with the eating disorder, I can see what that would be very triggering of binge eating there. Right. So this is a great example of how this season can be very triggering. Can you share with us other examples?
Sure. Let's see. There might be movies so another movie possibly could be I'm not going to say the specific movie, but it's a cookie baking contest.
Okay.
That one's more related to, that is a Hallmark movie. I think it's called Cookie Contest, basically, because I love my Hallmark movies. So, it's about the mixing of the batter and the making cookies and all the happiness that goes with it. But again, somebody who does struggle with a relationship with food or food aversions, that's going to trigger that. Other movies that may or may not trigger, or say body image movies, that might be related to, again, those in the athletic spotlight, or gymnast, or people with a high profile modeling. Of course, modeling always, having, models for a reason. They fit the clothes, but they are, they do struggle. And I had worked with those in a previous career. So I do understand what that's like up close and personal, but it is, again, that's the type of anorexia, where the restricting behavior shines through. So anything to do with maybe body hugging things, or when people are just not comfortable with who they are, their core self is, because we are all encompassing mind, body, and soul, right? So to somebody who struggles with body dysmorphia, it's like, no, they are more linear and funneled into that. I want to look like this, and that may be a distorted image of self.
Do you find some of your clients during this time of year also get more triggered with their eating disorders in regards to their family dynamics or spending time with their families? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So having to engage socially, food focused gatherings, and maybe people that haven't seen them in a while, maybe as somebody who's been away at college, they've either gained or lost weight, or high school kids, you haven't seen those relatives in a while, and somebody may say a comment seemingly harmless, like, oh, you should probably eat something, or I hope we're going to have some pie, or, some of the comments that are made are not really made with intention to harm the person, but yet the person who's struggling is really going to hold on and linger to that. And therefore it might trigger a whole chain of events emotionally, like negative self-talk when they're only trying to get through the day. They're trying to engage socially, but it might really encourage behavior such as isolation, maybe leaning more to their phone, which is a whole other thing. They could be triggered then by social media. So they're sort of in a hot box, if you will. If you've ever played baseball, there's a hot box.
Yep.
You're between two catchers and you're trying to find freedom. So they can't really get reprieve. It's always good to have like a point person, somebody that you can say, hey, I'm struggling, or just have a code word if you need to maybe step out, go outside, go onto the porch. It's always good to have like a plan B, and then come back and they can stay fully present. And, that's when engaging strategies such as like what matters is being present. What matters is just showing up today. So.
Right. To continue talking a little bit about families here, I know there's a specific treatment perspective, internal family systems, or IFS. And I know this is one of the treatment perspectives that therapists will use when working with clients struggling with eating disorders. Can you tell us a little bit more about
Sure.
IFS?
Yeah, IFS, it can be a very successful strategy and a very successful modality, working especially maybe with trauma-related systems. Basically, it's parts work. So in a nutshell, Nikki, it's a very complex, very complex modality. However, I do like using it with specific clients. Parts of self might include an exile, a manager, or firefighters. And the exiles are those parts of self that hold on to the hurt, pain, or shame. They want to be seen and heard, but they also have protector parts, their worries. Then they overwhelm the whole family system, if you will. So that's when you see things like painful emotions that have been isolated from the conscious, for protection of the whole family system there. And
it's
then
really looking at that family as its own system. It's like a living, breathing system there. Yeah.
Right. So that, and it's all part and parcel to the one. So then the managers, they run the daily life, right? Those are the people that, oh, sure, I'll do this, I'll work, then I'll go to the gym, then I'll meet with this, then I'll do my service project. Then, those are your managers. They want to stay in control of everything. So control also is another core issue of eating disorder behavior. That way I don't have to deal with anything unexpected, which that is a huge trigger, the unexpected plans, such as the holidays, oh, we're not going to Aunt so-and-so's, we're going to go to Uncle so-and-so's. So unexpected things happening and inflexibility, that they're just very perfect storms for behavior. But getting back to how the managers, they're the judgers, they control, and they're the planners. They're self-critical, they're connected. They also can be at their core self, compassionate, confident, calm, and creative.
Okay, so there's the other side there. That's a healthy, positive side as well.
Yes,
we can say
balance.
Right. Key term
all about
there.
Balance. And then we go to the firefighters parts of self.
Okay,
those are the reactors. Okay, that's when firefighters are first responders. So if any of those feelings do come up, whether those good or bad, sometimes when you are engaging in an IFS session, you might ask that person to have the firefighter step back so then the exile can talk, basically so they can process what am I feeling, and to stay present enough, like this is the pain of the past, this is trauma of a broken relationship within a family, losing a child, things like that. So those are more reactive parts, and they work to put out the fire or the pain, but that can also be a maladaptive strategy as well. So that's when you see cutting, suicidal attempts, OCD, trying to obsessively, compulsively I'm sorry, OCD behavior. It's
Gotcha.
early, Nikki.
It's all good. I hear
you. That's when you see addiction. You might see increased sexual activity, constricting in diet. So that's when more an anorectic would be more active. Like, okay, I need to really control because I'm starting to feel, and I don't like how it feels because it would hurt. So that you could also see rage, self-harm, and then the binging as well.
Got you.
So
do you see things with people who struggle with anorexia of obviously control, and then those who struggle with bulimia at times a lack of control? Is that too simplistic to describe either disorder?
At times, at times, yeah. It sounds like, sometimes people that binge is because I don't have balance. I don't know how to start. I don't know hunger fullness cues. There's something we used to do, a pre and a post meal. So pre-meal, of course, being how are you feeling going into a meal? Post-meal then would be how do you feel after the meal? So then addressing the feelings and then having to really stay present enough to look at those. So you're right, Nikki, with binging, it's more like I'm out of control. I am just not rich, not refined enough, not balanced enough there. So.
Okay. All right. No, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
So what are some things specifically a person can do to navigate potential triggers during the holiday season?
Yeah. So there is some wonderful stuff that can happen. Just a few off the top of my head, asking for help. I think we touched on that just a little bit. Have somebody know that you're struggling. Hey, can you talk to me? Can we just go outside? Can we look at the trees or do something that would be more calming? You can remind yourself of the value of the nutrition for your body. That's always also helpful. So instead of focusing on the content of your plate, you're looking at it more like I need to fuel my body so my mind, body, and spirit can function the way I'm supposed to.
It's a great reframe. Definitely a good reframe.
Yeah. Right. Reframing that there. And then engaging in healthy boundaries for sure. Like we talked about with the comments or phrases, food talk. Trying to remind yourself again that food is not dangerous, rather challenging the feelings and assigning maybe new thoughts and behaviors to like, oh, this is kind of fun. I never knew the color of broccoli was so vibrant. I never knew that this cookie icing could be so creamy, So just trying to maybe approach your foods with a different set of internal tactics, if you will.
That's a great tip right there. Right? Just observing it in a different way, perceiving it in a different way. Great tip for sure.
And people that like art, people that might approach colors with different sensory skills too, like, oh, wow, that is a pretty color blue. I don't know many blue foods, but I think there probably are some blue jellos.
Right. Got you. Yeah. Oh my gosh, those are some great tips there, Meg. Any other takeaways you'd like to share on this topic?
Sure. I'm just thinking, Nikki. So there's something I like to try with some of my my clients, and I think it's a very portable exercise.
Okay.
It's I have so many different ones that we use, but I think this one, yes, we're going to go with the bag exercise.
Let's go with it. Yeah.
Right, so it's called the bag exercise. It's more of a guided imagery. So that would entail like, okay, so I ask questions such as your favorite color, favorite texture, size. So once we get that established, the person in mind is going to think of something that they love. If it's soft and velour or velvet, if it's corduroy, if it's something crunchy like a taffeta, if it's leather, whatever bag. For different genders, of course, they might choose a different type of texture just based on what they like. And colors. So when they visualize the colors, so then they're engaging all parts of sensory skills as well. And that we're not just focusing on feelings anymore. We're focusing on other senses as well. So what it feels like, how heavy is it? How soft is it?
Sounds like using all five senses, I guess, to engage with it, huh?
Yeah. And in that sense, Nikki, it's a lot like a grounding technique.
Yeah.
So, you might say, is there anything in there that smells? Is there an orange in there? Is there something that you can feel texturally? Is there, anything cold or hot? So once they have that bag, and I'll use, for example, a big blue velvet bag, because of course it's just soft and plushy. But if it's heavy, Nikki, Then I have the client say, what is the heaviest parts of that bag? What is in your bag that's heavy? Somebody might say, well, I had a fight with my mom. So that's in there. Well, I have to fit in this dress for a choral concert. Well, that's in there, those thoughts. Well, I'm going to meet so-and-so for the first time. I've never met them. That's heavy in there. So then as we start to maybe talk and process feelings a little bit more, they might take out something when they're ready to take that out so that their bag feels manageable.
Oh my gosh, that's a great technique, Meg. Wow, that's really, really good.
Oh, thanks.
Wow.
So we call that the bag exercise, just because it's portable. So if somebody, say, is going to someone's house, they might be able to do a quick body scan. Where am I feeling the anxiety, of course, and then say, okay, what's in my bag today? And then what can I take out and leave? And then maybe if I need to pick it up later, I can pick it up and then bring it to therapy, or I can bring it and journal about it or whatever. So,
my gosh. Thank you, Meg. Thank you for that tip, that technique. Thank you for all your insights that you shared today on this topic of eating disorders in the holiday season. And so thank you again.
Thanks, Nikki. It was great to be here. I hope it helps us understand a little bit more how we can help.
I think it definitely did.
Okay.
And I would also like to thank the team behind the Convos from the Couch podcast, which is Jason Clayton, Chris Kelman, and Juliana Whedon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you all.